Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. I am doing my interview kind of video here as I am holding my mic. I'm not at home. That's the reason I usually have my normal setup. But as you saw by the title today, we are doing a 2022 NFL mock draft. I did one about a month ago. I did one. So it was my own personal one. And I was like, I'm not going to do them that often. This won't be a regular thing for us, but I want to get back to it after I've done more research and have kind of found out what team needs may be. And obviously done more research on this upcoming draft class, which is very, very, very much defensive driven. But today, another NFL mock draft, as I have already said. So I'll be going through all 32 teams, only a first round, although I'm sure when the season starts to get around, I could get it 7 rounds out to you guys. So as always, make sure to subscribe because we do NFL mainly content, but I especially do a ton of NFL draft content early. We've already done some scouting reports. We've already done, I think, 2 on Thibodeau and on Derek Stingley, who obviously will be players that will get drafted early here. So make sure you guys do subscribe, turn on notifications, and as well make sure to watch a full video so you guys can get what your team's draft picks. But number one, we have, and again, this is a PFN, so it's simulated. It's not obviously the real mock order. It's completely randomized. But number one, and I think again we're gonna have to assume Watson's not there. I went with this my last mock draft. I'm gonna go Spencer Rattler, quarterback, Oklahoma. Look, someone who's very, very good improviser, something like we saw from Zach Wilson last year. Very, very good at off-platform throws. Has a pretty decent arm, not something that's huge, but is very accurate. Someone I think is, again, very deserving of that number 1 overall pick, but completely contrary to what we saw last year in the NFL draft. It is not a very defined QB1 driven class. I mean, there's 5 to 6 quarterbacks who could, develop to be that QB1 when draft season starts to come around. Spencer Rattler, 100% right now is not the number 1 guy. Or sorry, right now is the number 1 guy, but completely could not be when the season comes around. On my big board right now, I believe I have 10 players. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. We have our top 10 players there. But I have Malik Willis, someone who could creep up behind him. But Spencer Rattler, to me, is that guy. Now, we're going to move on to the Detroit Lions. Look, this is going to be when they're talking about, speaking about Malik Willis, I'm going to have the Detroit Lions go out and take Malik Willis. And I know you're like, whoa. Calm down. That's a very, very arguable pick. I think Malik Willis will emerge to be the QB1, QB2. Again, not a massive fan of Sam Howell, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are asking why. Again, as I said on that post, he wasn't in my top 10 players. I said on that Instagram post, I just have to watch a little bit more film. Again, we have a whole new college season stepping up, so my opinions very much changed. And I said, it's early days right now, so Sam Howell will probably jump into that top 10. I can almost, be very certain about it. But again, Malik Willis, I really like him. Very, very good improviser. Someone like Lamar Jackson coming out of college. Michael Vick, very, very good with his feet. One of the best quarterbacks so far we've seen with his feet. Really, really good improviser. Someone who can make those, big plays. But again, the concern is very, very raw talent. Someone who makes kind of wild throws. You're like, what are you doing? Someone who is not a very polished passer. Again, going to his last year with Liberty before the draft, I think it's going to be huge for him because it could completely tank his stock if he continues what we've seen from him so far from Liberty. You kind of look at his film. Whoa, really good throws, great throw, big, deep downfield throw. Someone who has a gigantic arm, which is very, very good. Like that Trey Lance-like arm has potential. And I think probably right now has the strongest arm in the class. And if he can polish it, that's what I'm saying. He could easily step into that QB1 positioning. We could be looking at him being the number 1 overall pick. But for now, that arm is very, very raw. Now the Jaguars, I've been advocating for this. Go out and get Derek Stingley. Get your Jalen Ramsey 2.0, and then you can trade him in the future and get a couple first-round picks. But I love Derek Stingley. My favorite player in this draft class when he was a freshman. I loved him. I've been saying this. He could be drafted as a freshman. Fantastic player. Someone who doesn't have any holes as a cornerback. That Champ Bailey 2.0, if you will. Fantastic cornerback out of LSU. DBU. We know the prospects they've made out of that secondary. Tyrann Mathieu, Patrick Peterson, just to name a few. Fantastic corner. Lockdown, can play slot, can play outside. Size at 6'1". He can do it all. Again, go check out our scouting report I did with Boomer Bust, a draft show analyst, Max Chadwick. Make sure, again, kind of forgetting. Make sure you guys go check that out. I will link that in the description. But the Jets here, this is a tough one. I mean, let's just assume that that Zach Wilson pans out. I'm gonna go with Kyle Hamilton. I know Kayvon Thibodeau's on the board, but I've started to like Hamilton a bit more. Someone who has so much value at that size he has as a safety, and so much value at the versatility. He's fantastic in coverage. Something we don't see from safeties of his size. I think he'll be a very, very valuable selection for a Jets team that probably will lose Marcus May, as they did not get long-term contract talks. He's under the franchise tag. I think safety is actually very valuable. Just like how the Jaguars get their Jalen Ramsey 2.0, go get your Jamal Adams 2.0 early draft pick. And I think Hamilton would be a fantastic selection. Again, I think the Jets could be upset. So we could maybe not even see them picking here at 4. And I believe I had Hamilton going to the Giants at 10 in my last one. I'm not sure. But you guys can go check that one out. Now the Bengals. This is a tough one. Again, they're not going to go quarterback because we like Joe Burrow. So I'm going to say go get Evan Neal, someone who I will have a scouting report coming out. I think this guy's a top 5 player in the classes. He's just slips. I think he's that Penei Sewell, he's going to be very, very much the best tackle. I think he's very, very, very good. Really someone who is incredibly powerful, kind of that Mekhi Becton-like anger when blocking, fantastic run blocker. And I think that's his specialty, especially for Joe Mixon, who's consistently been injured or not had that production. And then as well, they didn't go get Penei Sewell, which is a huge thing. They didn't get Penei Sewell. This would even make it even better of a selection if they already had Penei Sewell. But Evan Neal, first of all, huge, I believe 6'7", kind of that just prospect where it's like he has to be a top 5 guy. Again, injuries are a bit of a concern, but someone who's been a starter at Alabama, was fantastic last year. No one really talked about him that much because we know that he wasn't getting drafted this year, but fantastic. I think someone who I've really high hopes of. Will be seeing him in the spotlight this year with Alabama, one of the best college teams, if not the best college team. So that's what it is. Now the Eagles here, and I think they're really happy to have Kayvon Thibodeau, and I'm cringing at that because I have my Giants, but I'm a Giants fan, but I'm not putting any bias there. I'm gonna go Kayvon Thibodeau. Fantastic edge rusher. We did, again, a scouting report, one of the top players in this draft. Very, very defensive driven class. I mean, we've already had 2 or 3 defensive like players, which is something we didn't see. I believe the first defensive player taken last year was in the 20s. So this defensive class is really good. Kayvon Thibodeau, really that dominant edge one, which everyone's been saying if you've been watching draft content, we didn't have last year. So big good selection for the Eagles there. They get a dominant bendy edge rusher who has that height, but needs to get the weight up a little bit, but really, really dominant player. And I think should have a fantastic season with Oregon this year. Let's now go to the Giants. Again, as a Giants fan, you have to consider the fact that Daniel Jones may not be good. And as a Giants fan, I'm going to bet on the fact, it's tough. I'm going to bet on the fact that he is, and I know I might be getting a ton of hate. I'm just going to be optimistic. So this solely being optimistic, you can get in the comments, but solely being optimistic, you can say as much as you want. So I'm going to have them go with DeMarvin Leal out of Texas A&M, fantastic defensive tackle, someone who really you can't even define as a defensive tackle, as he really could slip into that edge role because he played a lot on the outside. And I think for a Giants team that is kind of versatile with that 3-4-4-3, he's a versatile player, a word we love saying and all NFL analysts love saying. Fantastic playmaker, someone who can get to the quarterback, really, really good in run stopping. I think for the Giants, who I think took a big blow in losing Dalvin Tomlinson, he could slide in with Leonard Williams as that and Dexter Lawrence as that very, very good polished defensive tackle, and that 3-4 or 4-3, as I said, he has a versatility to play on the edges of 3-4s and as a defensive tackle edge. It doesn't make sense on the edge of the 3-4 or in the middle of the 4-3. But the Falcons here, I'm going to assume Matt Ryan burns out. Then finally Howell will go off the board. A lot of rumors, go get Justin Fields in the last year's draft. Go get Zach Wilson. Go get this. Trey Lance. They didn't. They got Kyle Pitts, who was arguably the most talented player. And now they're going to go get hopefully their future guy in Sam Howell, someone who's been heavily compared to Baker Mayfield coming out of the draft. Not only because of his looks, because he looks kind of like Baker Mayfield, but look, someone who I just am not a massive fan of. I think someone who is overhyped because of I think his stats are deceiving. I guess I'll leave it there. But yeah, let's move on now to the Panthers selection here at 9. This is definitely a tough one. You have Chris Olave there, but I was going to go Kyer Elon, but I forgot they obviously took JC Horn, number 8. He was the first. I don't know. I was saying He was a first overall. I don't know what I was talking about when we said defensive players taking the 20s. Of course, J.C. Horn was taking at 8. I don't know. Guys, my mind is terrible. But J.C. Horn taking at 8 last year. This is a tough one because imagine that, getting Kyrie Elam. But I'm going to go Drake Jackson, USC. I think they don't have a fantastic defensive line. Go pair him up with Brian Burns. I think would be very, very, very good. But now my Giants are up, and I'm going to go Christian Harris out of Alabama, someone who I really like, fast linebacker, kind of can adapt to the modern NFL game, and a Giants team that really, really needs the linebacking core is really what's separating them from being a fantastic defense. And I think you put in Christian Harris as your future guy, I think would be a really, really smart selection. Now we have the Broncos. Go get Garrett Wilson, go get Chris Olave. I think that would be really smart. This one's definitely a tougher one. I may go. I think I'm going to go Garrett Wilson. I think you pairing up with Jerry Jeudy. Again, I know quarterback, and I'm kind of regretting actually now not taking quarterback, but who knows? This is solely saying that their quarterback situation is somehow fixed. And Garrett Wilson, fantastic receiver, really, really polished route runner, someone who's really good hands. Again, a guy we'll do a scouting report on, but I think you slide him with Jerry Jeudy, who kind of struggled at that sole wide receiver one role. And I think it would be a smart selection. So that's who they go with. Obviously, they skipped on Justin Fields, so I know quarterback, they're probably screaming for it here, or at least Broncos fans are screaming for it here. But Garrett Wilson is a selection. Now let's move on to the Raiders, who they're actually predicting to have a decently high selection. This is where I think they could go back to back. I was going to Chris Olave, but Kaiir Elam for me, really, really good size. Someone who we saw be locked down in Florida, really, really good ball skills. And it's a Chicago defense that needs a dominant, I guess, secondary playmaker because they're kind of lacking that. They obviously lost Joyner. Cornerback roles there haven't been fantastic. So I think you slide in Kaiir Elam and really solidify that cornerback one role for the future. But let's get on to the Arizona Cardinals. Again, a team they're actually predicting to have a pretty high draft pick. This one, go Chris Olave. No, they won't. I would say he won't go for the next several selections, teams have good wide receivers. I would probably say here you may as well go Kenyon Green, big guy out of Texas A&M, and just bulk that offensive line for Kyler Murray, who has consistently been getting hit, and a guy who you can't have Kyler Murray get hit as much as a regular NFL quarterback because of his size. And I think Kenyon Green just would be the fantastic selection there. So that's who I'll go with there. Again, Charles Cross would be a decent one, going edge rusher maybe if J.J. Watt doesn't pan out. Again, maybe even going receiver if A.J. Green isn't good or if Rondale Moore doesn't show up. But I'm going with what I see now. And to me, that's Kenyon Green. Washington Football Team. Again, I don't see them going receiver. I would see them go maybe back on Morgan Moses. I would say Charles Cross, Mississippi, definitely makes a lot of sense simply because I think it's an offensive line that is average, I would say. So bulk it. It's an average offensive line. Again, they have basically their only good offensive lineman is now under the franchise tag. So I wouldn't bet on someone like Charles Cross going in there and not being good. And I think he goes in there and is a very, very good playmaker. Let's go on to the Vikings now. This one again, does Thielen get a drop in form? A lot of us on the channel is like, well, why would he have a drop in form? He was good last year. Why would he be this year? So I'm going to go. This is a tough one. I'm going to go edge rusher and go George Karlaftis from Purdue, someone who they, would, I think for him, immediate impact on a Vikings defensive line that has lost Ngakoue. Everson Griffin's obviously gone. Daniil Hunter is the kind of only polished guy. They obviously got Tomlinson from the Giants, as much as I hate to say that. But again, get 3 really good defensive linemen in there and get a dominant D-line. But let's move on to the Chargers now. I'm going to go for it. Go get Chris Olave, fast, speedy guy, and just help. It would just be scary. Just go help Justin Herbert. A lot of us are like, ooh, maybe you go get Jalen Waddle. What we were saying in last year's draft. And I'm making my dreams come true and getting Justin Herbert more weapons, someone who I love. And again, maybe next year he really takes a step up, and then third year for him after they get Olave, he's that MVP contender, and Olave can just help him speedy guy, someone who really needs to improve on. He's very, very easy to tackle, but really, really elusive and kind of that yin to Garrett Wilson's yang or the other way around. But let's move on now to the Patriots. This one, again, is a tough one. Like, do they go offense? Do they go defense? I'm going to go with Isaiah Spiller, Texas A&M running back. They don't really have that workhorse guy there. Damian Harris, someone who I'm not a massive believer in. And again, go, fix all the facets of that offense. You fix that receiving core maybe with Aguilar and obviously Kendrick Bourne. And then you got the 2 tight ends, which I think will be serviceable. But go get Mac Jones, who I think will be the starter at least when this went in 2022, and go get Isaiah Spiller from Texas A&M. Big fan of that selection. Pittsburgh Steelers are up now. Wide receiver, I don't think makes sense. I think we can all agree on that. I would go get Ahmad Garner from Cincinnati. Look, that cornerback, that defensive back room has gone from fantastic to just not that they're bad, but there's just so little of them. There's just not many players there. Joe Hayden, I believe, his contract's running out. They lost Hilton. They lost Nelson. They lost a ton of players this offseason, 2021. So Ahmad Garner, again, go get your future cornerback one and make that defense even more scary. Now the Eagles are up again, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, this is from I don't know why I can't think of the trade. Not sure. Again, I'm sure it's an obvious one that I just completely. Is it no, it's not the Wentz one. I'm stupid. Sorry, guys. But let me think. This is a tougher one. Because look, go get Treylon Burks and bolster that wide receiver core. I think I might. I think I will. Treylon Burks, wide receiver, Arkansas. I think I will because Devontae Smith, as good as he is, he's not a big guy. Besides that, there's not much. Rager, who I hope takes a step, and this would be very, that would be decisive because if he takes a step, then Burks will not be the smart selection. But I'm assuming he won't be. Maybe that's me being a biased Giants fan, but that's what I have. All right, Saints. This is a tough one. I mean, Jalen, Windermeyer. I'm going to go and get a. It's gonna maybe safety. No, I'm gonna go get Kingsley Enagbare from South Carolina, defensive line that I think again is going to start to get average as next season pans around, and I think this will be a smart selection. Again, guys, I'm not the smartest on all of these players. Again, it's very early, so I will do my research. So just if I start to give shorter kind of analysis, that is why. But let's go on to the Cowboys, who they have drafting decently late. This is this is definitely a tough one, but I'm going to go Jordan Battle out of Alabama. Someone I really like, someone who's a big size and really, really good wrap-up tackler for a secondary in Dallas that is young. They didn't go and get Patrick Surtain, who I'm sure they're very, very mad they didn't get, but they got Micah Parsons, a defense that's pretty young, actually. They obviously got Kelvin Joseph from Kentucky, who will slide into that, kind of nickel corner, or at least at cornerback 2, besides Trayvon Diggs, who will be then going to that third year. And I think Jordan Battle slides in as that, secure tackler behind Micah Parsons, who can kind of be jittery, get into the box. So big, very, 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 very good. And if I'm moving around a lot, I'm on this tiny stool and I have no space. But that is that is why. That's what we do when we're traveling. You got to do it for the mock draft. Let's move on now to the Vikings. What am I talking about? The Titans. This is a tough one because it's like, go and get an offensive tackle and go boost Derrick Henry's production if that's even possible. But then there's also Jalen Windermeyer here, and that Jonnu Smith is gone. So I'm actually going to do that. I mean, go fix the roles that are obviously, go fix the positions or go refill the positions that have been taken away from you. And obviously Jonnu Smith did not re-sign with them, went to the Patriots. Go get his replacement. In Windermeyer from Texas A&M. And Texas A&M, I believe, 3 players off the board already in the top 25 players. So they're doing very well. But let's move on now to the Jets. This is definitely a tougher one. But again, I just see a gaping cornerback problem there. So go get Andre Booth Jr. from Clemson, someone who obviously was, played with AJ Terrell. It's a tougher one because, look, the Jets cornerback room to me right now is just bereft of talent. They just don't have anything. I'm not even sure who the corner one is. Brian Poole, they let go to the Saints, one of the better slot guys. I mean, it's like Bryce Hall. There's not in Lamar Jackson, which I know is very funny because there are two other celebrities. But the fake celebrity secondary is what we like to call them over here. Andrew Booth here, I think the third cornerback going off the board, and I think they kind of try to fix that problem in New York. But let's move on to the Colts. This is an interesting one. Again, you're not going to really go with a tackle here because not why it doesn't really make sense. So I'm actually going to very, very much ruffle a lot of people's feather and go with Carson Strong out of Nevada. I don't think Wentz will be great, and I know this is a very, very hot take, and I know they just signed him to a big deal, and I know he's been injured, but I'm saying that the quarterback problem continues, and very, very hot take. And I know a lot. That's the pick that's going to get the people in the comments. But Carson Strong, someone who again could jump to that quarterback one role, someone who has arguably one of the with Malik Willis strongest arms, really accurate out of Nevada, one of the top 5 guys who is very versatile. It's very, very versatile this class. So I like it. But let's move on now to the Dolphins selection. This one I'm trying to find him. Again, do I just get my co-host Dylan very mad and go get quarterback? I'm not going to. We'll say, which won't be possible, that Tua has a good season. I'm joking, Dolphins fans. I'm actually going to go with a guy I do very, very much, Tyler Linderbaum, the most versatile and athletic center you'll ever see out of Iowa. I'm joking. Look, Iowa have produced one good offensive line talent the past 2 years in obviously Tristan Wirfs, who was phenomenal. I believe the highest PFF ranking for a season, I believe, from an offensive line. I'm not sure. Again, very, very high PFF ranking. But Tyler Linderbaum, again, an offensive line that has struggled a decent bit, didn't go for Penei Sewell. I think they'll address it here with Linderbaum, who I think will climb a lot of people's boards when draft season starts to come around. But let's go Browns 26. I don't know. This is a tougher one because offensive line, they don't really need. So I'm actually going to go edge Zach Harrison, who's kind of fall through the slips, guy from Ohio State. I think they'll go who the most talented player on the board, which is Zach Harrison. And a defensive line that I would say out of all the positions is not the strongest. It's Myles Garrett. And obviously Jadeveon Clowney, who I don't think will be fantastic. So Zach Harrison is this pick for me. But let's go now. Oh my God, the Lions have another first round selection. What is this? Have they had 3? No. Okay, I'm just hallucinating now because I thought that the Eagles' second pick was the Lions. I'm very sorry. But let's move on now to the Bills. I'm going to go Brandon Joseph, safety out of Northwestern. Look, the safeties are getting old in Buffalo. As much as we hate to say it, Poyer and Micah Hyde are not the younger guys. I believe they're in their 30s now. Go get the backup in Brandon Joseph. Who did I take last? I believe I took Jordan Battle last time when I did my last mock. So go get Brandon Joseph. Lions. This is a tougher one. Again, go bulk that offensive line with your second round pick and go get Rasheed Walker, Penn State. Go get the tackle on the other side of Penei Sewell. Again, I wouldn't have taken this selection. I wouldn't have taken this selection if they already had a fantastic if they only had one first round pick. Again, I would, Drake London is definitely a shout here because that wide receiving core isn't great. Go get another USC receiver to pair with Amon-Ra, but I would go Rasheed Walker. Now they're predicting the Ravens to make it to the championship game. This is a tougher one. I would say for the Ravens, you got to look at what's that offense going to be running like next year. And, they're not going to go, I would say it's probably a defensive type selection. I'm going to go out on a limb and just buff that receiving core like they did. And they got a late round guy in Rashad Bateman, who I love, and go get John Mechie out of Alabama, who's fantastic. Someone who no one has been talking about because, as we know, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, all the fantastic guys that have been produced by Alabama in the past 2 years. But Mechie, I think, will finally get his year to be the number one guy. And I think, look, make that Ravens offense even more fun to watch and go get John Mechie to spice up that 2022 NFL season and Ravens offense. But now the Packers, Rodgers and Devontae Adams are back. Look, this really could be a situation where it's like, go get a quarterback. So, oh God, that's really interesting. But again, they have Jordan Love, so I'm not going to predict that. I'm going to go with Drake London out of USC. Go back up Devontae Adams. That's the only reason I have him taken here. The Bucks. What's wrong about them? There isn't much. This is a tough one. I would say, oh man, this is very hard. Yeah. Oh my God, this is a really, really hard one. I would say, oh man, I'm gonna go Justin Ross, Clemson, because it's a receiving core. I believe Godwin's under the franchise tag, and did I get it? I'm not sure. I know he was franchise tag, but I don't know if they got to a long-term deal. So we had Justin Ross, someone who was coming off, I think, a spine problem. He had surgery that took him out from this past season, 2021. So, and I know my hair is terrible. But yeah, I'm gonna go Justin Ross. Chiefs, they're predicting to win the Super Bowl here. Go get a quarterback. I'm joking. If you're the Chiefs, go get DeMarvion Overshawn from Texas, because you need a linebacking core that hasn't been great as of recent, a defense that hasn't been great. So that's my selection for them. But very, very much shaky at the end there, ladies and gentlemen. So I do apologize for that. I hope you guys did enjoy the mock draft. If you made it to the end, as always, do make sure to subscribe, comment any of your thoughts down below. We always love to talk NFL here. More draft content to come. So as always, make sure to subscribe, turn on notification bell. I know you hear that from every single YouTuber ever, but seriously, it helps out a ton. Help us get to 1,500 if you just could click the subscribe button as well. Check us out on social media at The Sports Scoop and our TikTok, where we're going to be posting a lot now. So if you want some content there, some place to comment, to have a community, you can go over there. But without further ado, Cian McDermott, The Sports Scoop analyst. See you next time.